Chapter 1585. However, all of this was just wishful thinking. She was sensitive and could clearly feel that her father did not like her. Was it just because she was deaf and mute? She really wanted to tell her father that Fingzhou had cured her of her deafness and muteness, but, however, her father did not give her the chance because she could not meet his disgusted gaze. She could not tell him that her deafness and muteness had been cured under his disgusted gaze. On the other side, after Fingzhou and the others left Tuan City, they parted ways with Guan Shilin. Hui Lang, who had left last night, prepared a carriage. Lao Bai was ridden by him while Ing Yi was in charge of driving the carriage. Their next destination was Heaven Mountain. Hence, they went straight to Heaven Mountain. On the third day after they left, Duan Mubai returned to the Duan family. At this time, Duan Linlin, who had finally been released, threw a tantrum because the person who made her happy had left and she did not even know his name. "Father, didn't you ask the name of the man in the black robe? Where is he from? Tell me, where do you think they went?" She did not give up and asked. "Shaolin, don't think about that person anymore. Father will find a good family for you." City Lord Duan waved his hand and said, indicating for her to stop pestering him. "A good family. Father, you won't be like the family you found for sister and casually marry me off, will you?" She didn't think much of it. After being released from house arrest, she received 3 pieces of news. One was that her grandfather had woken up and was recovering. Another was that those people had left. Another was that her father had arranged a marriage for her deaf-mute sister and was preparing to secretly marry her off to the countryside. Thinking of her deaf and mute sister, she held his hand and said, "Father, if you want to marry sister off, it's best to do it while Big Brother is not doing anything. If Big Brother hears the news and comes back, he will definitely stop you." "I know. I've already sent people to do it. She will be taken away in 3 days. The outside world only knows that I have you as my daughter. I don't intend to let anyone else know about her marriage." Duan Linlin's eyes narrowed into a line when she heard this. She finally felt better. That was great. She would not have to see that face that looked exactly like hers anymore. "City Lord, Second Master has returned." The steward hurried in to report. Behind him, Duan Mubai, who was dressed in the white robe of the Danyang sect, strode in. Seeing the newcomer, the city lord was overjoyed and hurriedly went up to greet him. "Second brother, you're finally back. Big brother, how is father?" Duan Mubai asked. He had rushed back after hearing the news, but his injured body needed to recuperate. Coupled with the delay on the road, he had only just returned home. "Don't worry, father is fine and has already woken up. You don't know, but a few days ago, a red-clothed youth called Fingzhou found out that we have the exquisite rainbow flower in our residence, so he came to our door. He was the one who cured father's illness. Now, father's life is no longer in danger, and he is recuperating." "You're saying that the person who treated father was a red-clothed youth?" "Fingzhou?" Duan Mubai asked in disbelief. Seeing the look of disbelief on his face, City Lord Duan nodded and said, "That's right, what's wrong? You know that young Master Feng." Chapter 1586. It's a long story. Sit down and rest for a while. I'll tell you slowly. The city lord gestured for him to sit down and told him everything that had happened. Duan Mubai fell silent when he heard his brother's words. He came for the exquisite rainbow flower. Could it be because of the poison in his mother's body? How was Wanrong now? "Second uncle, will you be staying at home for a while this time?" Duan Linlin seized the opportunity to ask. "No." Duan Mubai shook his head. City Lord Duan was surprised. "Since you're back, why don't you stay for a while?" Something has happened in the sect recently. You haven't received the news here, but the news has spread elsewhere. Danyang sect is in chaos now. Since father is fine, I'll leave tomorrow. They had no master in the peak and had many things to settle. It was not convenient for him to stay here. Moreover, his brother was taking care of his father, so he was relieved. What news has spread? And we haven't received the news yet? City Lord Duan asked. He had been busy with his father's affairs recently, so he was not well informed. I'll tell you about this later. I'm going to see father. He stood up and said. All right, come with me. City Lord Duan personally led him to his father's courtyard. After Duan Linlin saw the two of them leave, she thought for a while and went to her deaf and mute sister's courtyard. When she arrived at the courtyard, she saw Duan Yingying, who was wearing a simple and elegant dress, watering the flowers and plants. She looked relaxed and happy. She sneered. You're still in the mood to water the flowers? Oh, that's right. You're deaf and mute, so you can't hear what I'm saying. She deliberately walked in front of her and looked at her, then said with a smile. Duan Yingying could hear her, but she did not say anything. She only looked at her in confusion. You don't know. Father has found a good marriage for you. In 3 days, you'll be married off secretly. I heard that the man is a landowner in the countryside. His family has some money, but ordinary people can't cultivate. She didn't notice that Duan Yingying's eyes narrowed slightly after hearing her words. She pursed her lips and tightened her grip on the watering pot. She lowered her head and listened quietly. Actually, he's quite compatible with you. You're both deaf and mute, so it's impossible for you to marry those young masters of aristocratic families. Those kinds of families wouldn't want a deaf and mute person like you. You have to know that even father thinks that you're an embarrassment. Otherwise, why would outsiders only know that I'm the only daughter in the city lord's mansion? Pfft, I'm the one who's here because I'm bored. You won't hear me even if I tell you. It's a waste of my breath. She glanced at her with disdain and turned to leave. Perhaps it was because she was unhappy that she deliberately came to her deaf and mute sister to feel superior. Seeing that she couldn't hear a single word she said, not knowing what she was talking about, and not knowing how long it would take for her to be married off, she felt happy in her heart. As long as she was married off, she wouldn't have to look at this exact same face in the future. However, when she walked outside, she stopped in her tracks. Thinking about how she was going to marry a rich man in the countryside with her face, she felt disgusted and a crazy idea surfaced in her heart. Chapter 1587. It's such a pity that I didn't have the chance to meet such a person. If I could have befriended him, he would have been of great help to the Duan family. What a pity, what a pity. Father Duan sighed as he sat on the bed. But he killed second brother's master. I'm afraid. City Lord Duan said hesitantly. He thought of the assassination attempt by the Meng family and said to Duan Mubai, for Fairy Realm Masters and dozens of nascent Soul Realm Masters were sent for the assassination attempt. They were determined to kill Fingzhou. It's very likely that the sect leader sent someone to do it. If the sect leader really sent someone to do it, the Danyang sect will be in trouble. The person beside Fingzhou is the Yamo Lord of Hellhole. If the sect protecting elder had not interceded that day, the sect leader would have been killed. At this point, Duan Mubai said helplessly, I was originally worried that the sect leader would send someone to assassinate her. I had already sent 2 disciples out of the sect to look for Fingzhou, but I didn't expect them to be one step too late. With the Yamo Lord of Hellhole by Fingzhou's side, it won't be easy to kill her. Moreover, it's one thing if others don't know that person is the Yamo Lord. If they did, they probably wouldn't have accepted the assassination mission. Father Duan said in a low voice. Although his complexion was not very good, he was full of energy and his body was recovering quickly. Moreover, the 3 of them were in the same room. Those who didn't know would have thought that they were 3 brothers. Because of Father Duan's cultivation level, he was the youngest among the 3 of them and looked like Duan Mubai's brother. That's true. Moreover, Fengzhou's skills are outstanding. Duan Mubai said to the two of them, "Father, brother, since there's nothing else, I'll go back to the courtyard to rest. I'll prepare to go back first thing tomorrow morning. If anything big happens at home, remember to inform me." "Don't worry." Father Duan waved his hand, indicating that there was nothing else and that he should go back first. In the end, City Lord Duan accompanied Duan Mubai out of the courtyard. The two brothers chatted along the way until Duan Mubai returned to his room. Only then did City Lord Duan turn and leave. In the evening, Duan Mubai, who had rested well, recalled that his elder brother had said that Fengzhou and the others stayed in his eldest daughter's courtyard when they were in the Fu. Thus, he walked towards the good courtyard. He was curious as to what kind of person Fengzhou would favor. Although he was the second master of the Duan estate, he rarely returned home. Not to mention that he did not know anyone in the estate, he was also very unfamiliar with his elder brother's two daughters. He only knew that they were twins, and the older one seemed to have an incurable deaf-mute disease since she was young. At this moment, he was really curious. What kind of person was his eldest niece? How could he make Fengzhou treat him differently? After passing through the spirit array in the courtyard, Yang Kai saw that the spirit herbs and flowers in the garden had been neatly arranged. He couldn't help but nod his head in satisfaction. It was said that only his eldest niece, Yingying, lived in this courtyard. Naturally, these spirit herbs and flowers were also taken care of by her. As he walked slowly inside, he sized up this small courtyard. After walking around, he saw the pair of sisters in front of a room. One of them was wearing a pink dress, while the other was wearing a plain white dress. It was easy to recognize them. After all, he had just seen the younger one in the morning. Chapter 1588. Especially when his eldest niece came back not long after, and his youngest niece pushed the drugged teacup in front of him, he couldn't help but walk out. "What are you doing here?" His voice was low, and his words were directed at his youngest niece. At the same time, he raised his hand and gestured to his eldest niece, who was about to drink tea, to wait. When Duan Linlin saw him, her eyes were filled with panic. She stood up guiltily and called out in a fluster, "Second uncle, why are you here? Let me ask you, what are you doing here?" Duan Mubai stared into her eyes and asked sternly. I am here to have tea with my sister. I am here to have a chat." She lowered her head and did not dare to look at him. Her voice was also much softer. At this moment, Duan Yingying, who was originally sitting, had already stood up. She smiled at Duan Mubai and opened the piece of paper. The words "second uncle" were written on it. Duan Mubai's expression softened slightly. He nodded at her and walked forward. He picked up the cup of tea in front of his eldest niece and sniffed it. His expression changed drastically, and his gaze became even sharper as he shouted at his youngest niece, "Do you need to drug your sister with ghosts' worry while drinking tea and chatting? What a vicious mind you have. You actually want to use such a vicious drug to disfigure your sister. How did my Duan family produce such a vicious child like you?" He used the word "vicious" 3 times in a row to scold her. His voice was sharp and filled with anger. He never imagined that his youngest niece would be so vicious. She actually wanted to use such a vicious drug like ghosts' worry to disfigure her own sister. How could she have such thoughts at such a young age? At the side, Duan Yingying, who had a smile on her face, froze when she heard her second uncle's words. Her body also stiffened. She felt as if her heart had fallen into an ice cellar, and her entire body froze. Today, her younger sister came to look for her and said that she wanted to chat with her. She even kept saying nice things about her, which made her extremely happy. However, she never thought that she would come here to drug her and disfigure her. Why? Why did she do this to her? Why? She lowered her eyes, feeling disheartened. Perhaps she should not have hoped for kinship. And no, second uncle, I didn't. Duan Linlin still did not want to admit it and hurriedly shook her head. No. Why don't you drink this cup of tea for me to see? He held the cup of tea in front of her and stared at her sharply. No, I don't want it. Duan Linlin pushed the teacup away and shouted as she ran out. Duan Mubai stared at her departing figure and ignored her. Instead, he glanced at Duan Yingying and took the pen and paper in her hand to write. Although I don't want you to know, I think you still need to know. You have to be careful of your younger sister. She has impure thoughts. In the future, don't eat anything she gives you. Looking at the caring words on the paper, Duan Yingying couldn't help but cry. Second uncle, who rarely came home, also cared about her. However, her father and her younger sister kept doing things that made her sad. How could she continue to stay in this family? Seeing her lowering her head in tears, Duan Mubai sighed and wrote on the paper again. Don't worry. I won't let this matter rest. I'll tell your father and let him deal with it. He must teach her a lesson. Chapter 1589. After watching her second uncle leave, Duan Yingying stood quietly for a while before turning around and walking into her room. She wanted to leave this place. She did not want to stay at home any longer. She wanted to go far away and never come back. As for Duan Linlin, she hid in her room out of fear and did not dare to come out. She covered herself with the blanket and trembled because she did not know what her second uncle would say to her father. If only her father knew about this, he might not punish her severely. However, if her second uncle knew about this, her father would definitely punish her severely to save face. What should she do? What should she do? On the other side, in the hall, after hearing his second brother's words, City Lord Duan's expression changed. He slammed the table and stood up furiously. This Xiao Lin. She's really out of control. If I don't teach her a lesson this time, she won't learn her lesson. Men, bring her to me. The two guards obeyed the order and left. Meanwhile, Duan Mubai sat in the hall and sipped his tea as he said, Big brother, this child has to be taught a lesson. She can even do this to her own family. If she gets married in the future, the reputation of the Duan family will be ruined. Furthermore, it's extremely easy for her to cause trouble for the Duan family. If I didn't see that scene, I wouldn't dare to believe that what I saw was real. Don't worry, second brother. I will definitely discipline her properly and make her remember this lesson. He hurriedly promised. Duan Mubai glanced at him indifferently and sipped his tea. Big brother, I don't want to interfere with your family matters. However, this matter is definitely inappropriate for this little niece to do. If anything happens to eldest niece, this matter will only cause the reputation of the Duan family to be ruined. Furthermore, from what I know, eldest nephew seems to treat eldest niece very well. If he returns home and finds out about this, I reckon there will be internal strife in the Duan family. At that time, if we do something like killing each other, we will only be laughed at by outsiders. As the city lord, I'm afraid you won't be able to lift your head up in the city. Hearing that, City Lord Duan wiped his sweat and nodded. Yes, second brother is right. I will definitely put an end to this matter. What? Let go of me, I can walk on my own. Let go, let go. Outside, before anyone could be seen, they heard Duan Linlin's furious cry. The two people in the hall looked outside and saw her being escorted by two guards. When Mayor Duan saw this, he strode out. Looking at the panicked face of his youngest daughter, his face darkened as he shouted angrily, "Kneel." She broke free from the two guards, then knelt down and grabbed her father's hand, shouting, "Father! Father, I know I was wrong. Father, you..." However, before he could finish, he was interrupted and his hand was flung away. "Please punish me according to the family law," City Lord Duan shouted in a deep voice. With his hands behind his back, he stared at his daughter who was kneeling in front of him. Since you dared to do such a thing, you have to bear the consequences. Today, I must make you remember this lesson. Otherwise, you'll really be out of control. Hearing the 3 words, Duan Linlin's face instantly paled. No, don't use the family law, don't. Father, I really know my wrongs, I really know my wrongs. She hurriedly begged for mercy, not daring to imagine if she could still live under the family law's punishment. Chapter 1590. Duan Mubai drank his tea and did not even look up. You have to be punished if you do something wrong. The Duan family's rules cannot be abolished. Hearing that, Duan Linlin was completely dumbfounded, especially when she saw the steward take out the family rules. She was so frightened that she sat paralyzed on the ground. The so-called family rules were a ruler. This was a custom-made ruler that was passed down from the ancestors. This ruler had some small sharp nails on it, and every time it hit the body, it would cause the body to feel excruciating pain. It could be said that this family rules were something that struck fear in the Duan family. There were very few times when they could use the family rules because no one dared to provoke them, and no one dared to bear the consequences of this family rules. Bring her here. City Lord Duan shouted in a deep voice. Father. I don't want. Her legs were so weak that she could not stand up. She was brought over by the 2 guards and knelt in front of her father. Looking at his daughter who was kneeling in front of him with a pale face, City Lord Duan took the family rules, raised it high, and slammed it down heavily. Smack! Ah! A heavy blow landed, and the pharaoh landed on her back. Blood instantly seeped out from the back of her pink dress, accompanied by her shrill scream that spread throughout the manor. Everyone in the manor was shocked and quietly gathered around to take a look. Smack! Smack, smack! Ah! Don't hit me anymore, father. Don't hit me anymore. Ugh! It hurts so much, father. She fell to the ground and wailed, but because she was held down by the 2 guards, she could not escape and could only cry and beg for mercy. As the family discipline fell, the sound of slapping and the miserable cries made people's scalps go numb. Especially when they saw Duan Linlin's body oozing with blood because of the family discipline, they were even more shocked. The residents had not used the family rules for a long time. They did not expect that the one to be punished this time would be the city lord's beloved youngest daughter. This made everyone speculate what kind of heinous crime she committed. She actually made the city lord so angry that he used the family rules. City Lord Duan's heart ached when he saw the bloodstains on his daughter's body. However, his second brother was watching, and she had indeed done well in this matter. If he stopped like this, he was worried that his prestige would be damaged in the future, and he would not be able to raise his head in front of his second brother. Thus, he had no choice but to continue. Duan Mubai drank his tea quietly inside. He only stood up when the people outside were shouting so loudly that they sounded like they were on the verge of death. Big brother, it's enough to educate the child, but don't kill him. I think we should just forget about it. She should have remembered this lesson. Hearing this, City Lord Duan hurriedly stopped and looked at his daughter who was lying on the ground. He asked in disappointment, "Have you remembered this lesson?" "Yes, I remember." Duan Linlin, who was lying on the ground, bit her lips. Her voice was trembling, and her face was pale. Her body was covered in sweat and blood, and she looked very miserable. "Hurry up and bring the young miss to apply the medicine." City Lord Duan shouted and ordered the 2 guards to send her back. He then instructed, "Get the physician and the residents to take a look at her immediately." "Yes." The guards replied and sent her back. At the same time, they ordered someone to inform the physician and the residents. "Big brother, I'm leaving tomorrow. I want to talk to father for a while more." Duan Mubai looked at him and said. Chapter 1591. The next day before dawn, Duan Yingying carefully hid the things she wanted to bring in her heaven-earth bag before leaving the courtyard. She did not leave through the main door but left through the back door. When the guards and maidservants saw her, they all thought it was Duan Linlin. They just looked at her in surprise and thought to themselves, Miss was punished by the family yesterday, but today she can get out of bed and walk around. She really recovers quickly. No one asked much about her leaving through the back door. They were all busy with their own matters and quickly threw this matter to the back of their minds. Actually, everyone who worked in the city lord's manor knew that there were two misses in the manor. However, the eldest miss was deaf and mute and did not leave the courtyard all year round, let alone go out. Hence, they did not expect that the person who left would be the deaf and mute eldest Mississippi Duan Yingying, who walked out, was at a loss. The world was so big, where should she go? The outside world was so big. After leaving the house and leaving her family, she felt like a lonely sailboat drifting alone in the sea, not knowing where the shore was. Taking advantage of the fact that there were not many people in the morning, she went to the market to hire a horse carriage and left the city. She planned to find her brother first. At noon, in the Duan Manor, Duan Mubai, who was preparing to leave today, wanted to visit Duan Yingying before he left. However, he did not expect to find her in the entire courtyard. There was only a letter under the teapot placed in the small pavilion in the courtyard. Seeing the letter, Duan Mubai frowned slightly. He had a bad premonition in his heart. He opened the letter and when he finished reading it, his face darkened. He held the letter in his hand and walked towards the main courtyard. City Lord Duan thought that his second brother was leaving today and was about to send him off when he saw him walking over angrily. Second brother, what's wrong? Why do you look so pale? City Lord Duan asked in confusion. Eldest brother, Yingying left. He said in a low voice as he stared at him. What? City Lord Duan was shocked and asked in astonishment, left? What do you mean? See for yourself. He handed the letter to him and then turned around with his hands behind his back. He sighed in his heart. His eldest brother had really disappointed him. As a father, how could he do that? City Lord Duan took the letter and read it. His expression changed slightly. The letter said that she knew that he was going to marry her off to the countryside. In addition, Lin Lin had tried to disfigure her by poisoning her. She didn't want to stay in this family anymore. She didn't want to be married off like this, so she chose to leave and told them not to look for her. Second brother, listen to me. This is... City Lord Duan wanted to explain. After all, he didn't expect things to turn out this way. I don't want to know what happened. Big brother, I'm leaving. Take care of yourself. He shook his head and walked out. City Lord Duan wanted to say something, but in the end, he couldn't say anything. He just stood there with his lips pursed. She, who was deaf and mute, dared to run away from home without the ability to protect herself. The ignorant were truly fearless. In the evening, the sky gradually darkened. A carriage slowly stopped by the side of the mountain road. The coachman was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He looked simple and honest. At this moment, he shouted to the person in the carriage, Miss, it's getting dark. Do you want to rest tonight? Shall we continue our journey tomorrow? Chapter 1592. Miss, you've been sitting in the carriage all day. Come out and take a walk. The coachman suggested. N. She responded and then got out of the carriage. It was the first time for her to go on a long journey, so she felt a little guilty. Moreover, she had been reading a book about acupoints left by Feng 9 in the carriage all the way. She was a little tired now because she had been concentrating her mental strength. After getting out of the carriage, she walked on the mountain path and breathed in the fresh natural air. Her mood and spirit improved. After walking for a while, she returned to the carriage and saw that the coachman had picked up some branches to make a fire. She walked over and sat down on the side. Here, this is the dry food I brought. She took out 2 pieces of dry food from her universe bag and handed one to the coachman. The coachman took a look and his eyes flashed. He smiled and took it. Thank you, miss. The 2 of them sat around the fire. The coachman seemed to be chatting with Duan Ying. He only knew that she had left home alone to find her brother. When the night deepened, Duan Ying returned to the carriage to rest. The coachman rested beside the fire. However, when she was sleeping in the middle of the night, she felt a pair of hands touching her body. She was startled and suddenly jumped up. What are you doing? Hee, miss, don't be afraid. I was afraid you'd be cold, so I came to see you. The coachman's previous honest expression changed. At this time, his face was filled with desire as he stared at Duan Ying's outstanding charming face and exquisite figure. She was alone in the wilderness, and she was a beautiful woman without any cultivation base. Furthermore, she was with a strange man. It would be strange if nothing happened. Go away. Go away. Don't touch me. She screamed in panic, struggled, and kicked that person. She didn't expect that the people outside would have such bad intentions, and she didn't expect that an honest-looking coachman would have bad intentions towards her. Hee, miss, this is your first time out, so you don't know. Outside, not everyone is a good person. You don't have any strength, but you have beauty. You also have a universe bag with many things. Don't you know that you shouldn't show off your wealth? Meeting me is considered good. Don't worry, as long as you follow me, I will definitely spare your life. Come on. No one can save you in this place. Be obedient and you won't have to suffer. Ha 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 ha. Go away. Go away. Help. Help. She screamed in panic. That pair of hands touched her body and tore her clothes. That feeling of despair and fear took over her heart. She had never encountered such a thing in her mind. Her mind was in a mess and she had no idea what to do. Rip. The sound of clothes being torn could be heard. That kind of despair gave birth to a strong will to survive. She clearly knew that at this moment, no one could save her, and the only one who could save her was herself. She did her best to calm herself down. When she remembered that the jade pillow she had been resting on was right next to her, she immediately reached for the jade pillow. She grabbed the jade pillow in her hand and used it to hit the back of the driver's head. Ah! The coachman let out a blood-curdling scream. His body stiffened and he fell to the ground. The thick stench of blood spread throughout the carriage. Even in his death, the coachman had never imagined that the woman he had looked down upon would give him such a fatal blow. Chapter 1593. Under the night light, it was a beautiful woman dressed in red. Her entire body exuded a mature and seductive charm. She looked to be in her 30s, but her true age was unknown. She leaned against a tree not too far away and looked at Duan Ying, who had lost her head out of fear. At this moment, she was stunned and trembling. She then curled her lips and asked, "Is he dead?" Duan Ying felt as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out. The fear and terror in her heart made her body weak and she fell to the ground, gasping for breath. She killed someone. She actually killed someone. The woman dressed in red saw her sitting on the ground with a pale face and did not ask any more questions. Instead, she slowly walked forward and lifted the curtains to glance inside. After confirming that the coachman was dead, she then said, "This is the way of the world. You'll get used to it." She lowered the curtains and sat in the carriage, looking at Duan Ying, who was sitting on the ground. She smiled, "Little girl, I think you shouldn't go looking for your brother. Looking at you like this, you'll probably meet with an accident on the way. Who knows, you might even lose your little life. This time, I'm lacking a disciple to serve me. You can stay by my side and serve me." She had been resting on the tree ever since the two of them had stopped halfway and heard the conversation between the little girl and the coachman. Naturally, she also saw the coachman's evil intentions. However, the little girl was ignorant and did not know that she was being watched. She should have left long ago, but after some thought, she decided to stay. She saw the coachman enter the little girl's carriage and heard her cry for help. However, she did not plan to intervene until the very last moment. This was the way of the world. You had to suffer a little to learn from your mistakes. However, she did not disappoint her in the end. She had killed the coachman first. It seems that she was not beyond redemption. Duan Yingying's body trembled. She gathered her torn clothes and raised her head to look at the beauty in front of her, asking, "You, who are you?" After this incident, she was wary of people she didn't know, especially this red-clothed beauty who had appeared out of nowhere. "I come from a large sect. You can rest assured. I'm definitely more reliable than that coachman." The beauty in red chuckled and played with her ink-black hair. "Little girl, it's your fortune that I've taken a fancy to you. Why are you hesitating?" Looking at the red-clothed beauty in front of her, Duan Yingying thought for a moment before getting up and kneeling in front of her. She respectfully kowtowed 3 times, "Disciple Duan Yingying greets master." "Good girl." The red-clothed beauty seemed to be very satisfied. She glanced at the chinquan bag on her waist with disdain, then took out a bracelet and handed it to her. "Your chinquan bag is quite shabby. Take it. In the future, use this as a greeting gift from me." Duan Yingying was a little surprised. She respectfully took it and looked at it. She asked, "Master, does it require a drop of blood to recognize its owner?" Her younger sister had a space bracelet. She also knew that this kind of treasure required a drop of blood to recognize its owner. The one her master gave her seemed to be even better. Such a treasure was given to her by her master just like that. Chapter 1594. Hearing this, she smiled for the first time tonight. "Ziying thanks master for giving me a name. Change your clothes and come with me." She gestured for her to change out of the torn clothes on her body. "Yes." Ziying replied. She took off her outer clothes and put on a clean one. Then she walked back to the carriage and wiped the jade pillow clean before putting it away. Only then did she leave with her master in the darkness. About half a month later, Xianyuan Mose, Fengjiu, and the others arrived at the foot of Celestial Mountain. As far as the eye could see, all they could see was silver-white snow, and not a single green plant could be seen. Tian Shan Mountain was also known as the Snow Mountain. In this place, the temperature was bone-chillingly cold, but at the peak of Tian Shan Mountain, it was another world. Phew, so cold. Fengjiu exhaled a breath of hot air and rubbed his hands. This place is covered in ice and snow all year round. The temperature is many times colder than other places. If you feel cold, then circulate the spiritual energy in your body. As he spoke, he hugged her to his side and wrapped her in his cloak, blocking the cold air for her. Grey Wolf and Yingyi followed behind and rubbed their hands from time to time. How did Tianji Elder get used to living in such a cold place? Yingyi glanced at Hui Lang and said, "Have you forgotten about the barrier? Who is Tianji Elder? If he sets up a barrier, he can naturally ignore the cold air. Also, haven't you heard that Tianji Elder's place is like spring all year round? Mo Chen seems to be here." Feng Nine looked at the mountain road in front of her and suddenly said such a sentence. She didn't see that because of her unexpected words, the man next to her suddenly became jealous and his face darkened. "What's there to worry about that pretty boy?" He said this in a strange tone. Looking ahead, he saw that on the snow-white mountain path, there seemed to be a figure slowly walking over without leaving a trace. When he saw that the person was the pretty boy he was talking about, his expression became even uglier. "Gigolo." Fengjiu was stunned. He looked at the man with a dark expression and laughed. "You mean Mo Chin?" It can't be. Emo-chan has the aura of an immortal. He's not a gigolo. As soon as she finished speaking, she saw that his gaze was fixed in front of her, so she looked over. When she saw the white figure, her eyes couldn't help but light up. Emo-chan. She raised her voice and waved at him. Xianyuan saw the woman beside him fly out like a butterfly and arrive in front of Emo-chan. Her smile was like a blooming flower, which made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Did this woman forget that he was her man? He was still here, and she was already like this. If they weren't alone, wouldn't it be even more? Thinking of this, he strode forward and came to Fengzhou's side. Domineeringly, he reached out and held her waist, silently declaring his ownership. Hui Lang saw this scene from behind and could not help but grin. Master's temperament really doesn't match his aura. This kind of jealous thing is not suitable for him. It's too damaging to his image. Yi glanced at him and said, "When Master takes care of you later, you won't ruin your image." As he spoke, he also walked forward. Chapter 1595. Fengzhou, it's been a long time. Emo-chan looked at her, and a refined smile appeared on his gentle face. Yes. Long time no see. How have you been? Oh right, how did you know we were here? Did you specially come to pick us up? She looked at him with a smile on her face. Yes, my master said you were here and asked me to come down and bring you up the mountain. He smiled and nodded, then looked at Xianyuan. Xianyuan glanced at him and did not say anything. Fengzhou was different. After hearing this, he was very surprised. Your master is really good at predicting. He can even predict that we're coming. Did he predict what we're here for? Hearing this, he smiled and said slowly, he must have come with a request. As he spoke, he gestured to them and said, "Follow me to see my master." He then led the way. They followed behind him. Fengzhou chatted with Emo-chan from time to time along the way. With Emo-chan leading the way, they didn't encounter anything on the way to the top of the mountain. They walked all the way to the top of the mountain with ease. While chatting, they didn't feel that this section of the mountain road was very difficult. As they chatted, they stopped at the top of the mountain. When Fengzhou and the others saw the scenery at the top of the mountain, their eyes could not help but light up. The words "spring all year round" were true. It was different from the snowy mountain below where not even a blade of grass grew. The top of the mountain was almost flat with a boundary separating it from the outside. Inside the barrier, hundreds of flowers bloomed, butterflies fluttered, and some small animals shuttled back and forth among the flowers and plants. On the plum blossom trees, birds leaped lightly on the branches, chirping incessantly. And these were only the scenes they saw in front of them. It seemed that they did not see the entire mountain. Come in. The top of this mountain is very big. This is only one of the sights. Emo-chan opened the boundary to let them in and introduced them. There's only me and my master on this mountain. Feel free to do as you please. This place is truly incredible. Fengzhou exclaimed. He never thought that there would be such a strange place in the world. Sky Mountain has many names. Some call it Snow Mountain, while others call it Immortal Mountain, Emo-chan said gently as he led them inside. Xianyuan glanced around and asked, "Where is the snow pool of Tianshan Mountain?" This was their main purpose for coming to Sky Mountain. They could leave after plucking the snow lotus, and the gigolo would have nothing to do with them. Hearing Xianyuan words, Emo-chan looked at him with slight surprise, then looked at Fengzhou and asked, "Did you come here for the medicinal lotus in the snow pond of Tianshan Mountain?" "That's right." Fengzhou nodded. "And it has to be 300 years old." Hearing this, Emo-chan suddenly understood. "I see. I was just wondering what would make you come here for. So it's because of this." He smiled elegantly and said, "It's not impossible to ask for the medicinal lotus. But first, you have to go see my master. He told you to go see him when you come up here. Seeing this, Xianyuanmo's frowned. Then why aren't you leading the way? Mo Chen smiled disapprovingly and gestured for them to follow him. This way. He led them into the mountain. Chapter 1596. It was a white-haired elder dressed in a white robe. He sat beside the snow pond, holding a fishing rod in his hand. He seemed to be asleep, but also seemed to be in a daze. He sat there quietly without moving. His body was filled with an ethereal aura. This ethereal aura made him seem as if he had merged with the heavens and earth, giving off an unreal feeling. You're here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. He slowly turned around and looked at Xianyuanmo's and Fengzhou, who were standing not far away, and revealed a peaceful smile. How did Tianji Elder know that we were coming? Fengzhou asked with a smile. He looked at the silver-haired elder in front of him. This person was Mo Chen's master. He even knew that she was from the outer world. Tianji Elder smiled and looked at the two of them. He said meaningfully, not only did I know that you were coming, I also knew that you would face a great calamity. Hearing this, Fengzhou's heart skipped a beat. Great calamity. She glanced at Xianyuanmo's, then looked at Tianji Elder and asked, Tianji Elder, please enlighten us. Tianji Elder shook his head with a smile, heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. Xianyuanmo's frowned and looked at Tianji Elder, saying, we're here for the 300-year-old icy heart white jade lotus behind you. Listening to Tianji Elder's nonsense only made Fengzhou's imagination run wild. Hearing Xianyuanmo's words, Tianji Elder smiled and walked to the side of the snow pond. He flew over and plucked the 300-year-old icy heart white jade lotus from the snow pond. Then, he turned around and returned to the side. He glanced at the icy heart white jade lotus in his hand and slowly walked up to Xianyuanmo's and Fengzhou. He looked at them and sighed. The road ahead of you will not be easy. The world is changing and a storm is brewing. Please take care. After handing the icy heart white jade lotus to Fengzhou, he turned around with his hands clasped behind his back and walked away with light steps. Only 2 sentences were carried by the breeze and entered the ears of the few people present. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. The phoenix is reborn from the ashes. Hearing that, Fengzhou didn't feel good and even felt a little irritated. It seemed that those who knew how to look at the number of the Emperor's star and calculate with their fingers all liked to talk about the beginning but not the end. This made them feel even worse than not talking at all. This Tianji Elder was not an ordinary person. Since he said so, he must have his reasons. But what was it? When Mo Chen saw this, she smiled faintly and said, please don't take offense. My master is like this. You've come from afar, so please stay here first. As she spoke, she gestured for them to enter first. Xianyuanmo's originally didn't want to stay here, but when he thought of Fengzhou's hurried journey, he didn't say a word of objection. Instead, he took her hand and walked forward. There's no need to worry. This kind of old swindler likes to deliberately mystify things. He spoke slowly, hoping that she wouldn't be too worried because of the Tianji Elder's words. And Fengzhou, who had been wondering just what was going on, couldn't help but laugh when he heard Mo Chen call the Tianji Elder an old swindler. His originally grave mood eased a little, and he gave Mo Chen a disapproving glare. That's the Tianji Elder. How can you call him an old swindler? That's too rude. As he spoke, he smiled apologetically at Mo Chen. Chapter 1597. He brought them to the front of the bamboo huts and said to them, there are a few rooms here, you can stay here for now. The mountain is simple and crude, so I'll have to ask you to make do with it. This place is very good, thank you. Fengzhou smiled and thanked him. Seeing that there were actually several bamboo huts here, he couldn't help but be surprised. Didn't you say that there were only you and your master on Heaven Mountain? Why are there so many bamboo huts here? Emo-chan smiled warmly and explained, my master's good friends come here every once in a while to stay. These bamboo huts were originally prepared for them. I see. She nodded and walked into one of the huts. Seeing that it was fully furnished, simple and elegant, she couldn't help but smile. From below, Heaven Mountain looked like a snowy mountain, cold and lifeless. However, upon reaching the top, it was a completely different world. The place where Tianji Elder lived in seclusion was indeed different from the rest. You can walk around the mountain as you wish, but it's best if you don't leave the barrier. There are more formations and ferocious beasts outside the barrier. If there's anything else you need, feel free to come find me. Emo-chan said, glancing at Fingzhou before leaving. Mose, don't you think that Emo-chan looks more and more like an immortal the more you look at him? Look at his white robes fluttering in the wind, leaving no trace behind. He really lives up to the name of an immortal. Fengzhou stared at Emo-chan's departing figure as she spoke to Xianyuan Mose beside her. It was as if she didn't know that the person beside her had darkened after hearing her words. Xianyuan Mose glanced at the departing figure, immortal. I don't think so. No matter how you look at him, he's just a pretty boy. After saying this, he turned and walked towards the bamboo huts. Hearing this, Fengzhou smiled and narrowed her eyes. She said to Hui Lang behind her, look at your master's jealous face, isn't it fun? Hui Lang grinned and hurriedly nodded his head, interesting, interesting. Ghost Doctor, only you have a way to make my master jealous. I was telling Yingyi earlier that when my master gets jealous, it simply destroys his heroic and domineering image. He's simply at Sundra. Before he could finish speaking, he saw his master, who had originally walked into the bamboo house, walk out with a dark face and anger. His sharp gaze swept over him with anger, scaring him so much that he couldn't continue speaking. He could only embarrassedly reveal a fawning smile. Hee, Moss, master. You have a lot of free time. Full of energy. Since that's the case, then go and clean the snow on the path we came from. Go. Xianyuan Mo said coldly. Ah. Master, you don't want to, right? His entire body withered. How long was the snow path? Moreover, it was cold and windy outside. Asking him to sweep the snow was just torture. He looked at Fingzhou, as if asking for help, hoping that she could help him put in a good word. Xianyuan Mo saw him staring at Fingzhou and coldly snorted, what are you looking at her for? Why aren't you going? Seeing this, Fingzhou chuckled. She stepped forward and took Xianyuan Mo's hand. Affectionately, she pressed her face against his arm and said, I'm going to refine these 2 herbs into pills. Let Hui Lang stay and help me. Seeing the little woman snuggling up to him with a fawning expression, Xianyuan Mo's expression softened. His voice also became gentler, isn't there still Yingyi? Chapter 1598. Yes, I'm more tactful, more tactful. Grey Wolf hurriedly echoed, grinning at Yingyi who was standing on the side. Seeing this, Xianyuan Mose didn't say anything more, and carried Fingzhou into the bamboo hut. You must be tired from the journey, rest first before you go and refine pills. Phew, that scared me to death. Thank goodness the ghost doctor was here. The ghost doctor is indeed the master's nemesis. Hui Lang patted his chest and exhaled, feeling as if he had escaped a calamity. Yingyi glanced at him, but didn't say anything, only standing guard nearby. On the other side, Emo-chan, who had left, came to Elder Tianji's hut and asked, Master, what kind of calamity will they experience? Is there any way to resolve it? Elder Tianji steeped tea as he gestured for him to sit. The star of the phoenix originally came from beyond the heavens. Her family and relatives will be changed because of her arrival. This is already an inverse. Her appearance has changed the fate of many people. There is cause and effect. She will naturally have to bear the karma of the cycle of heaven and earth, and her family and relatives will also have to face the calamity one by one. She will bear the pain of life and death, the destruction of her family and the death of her family. She will lose everything and have to start all over again. Even though she is the destined Phoenix Master, to become the ruler of the world, what she must bear and experience must be more than others. You have to know, in order to wear the crown, one must first bear its weight. Elder Tianji sighed, and took a sip of tea. It was bitter in the mouth, mellow in the throat, and sweet in the aftertaste. Mo Chen's heart became slightly heavy when she heard this. She asked, Master, you once said that my life is connected to hers. You said that I have to protect the heavenly fate Phoenix Master. Then how can I help her in this matter? Elder Tianji shook his head. Don't force it, let nature take its course. Everyone has their own destiny. There is a saying, man proposes, God disposes. Let nature take its course. Hearing this, Mo Chen sat quietly. After following by his master's side for so many years, he naturally understood this principle. It seemed that he could not help them. Everything would depend on their own luck. In the afternoon, Feng Zhou, who had rested, was ready to refine the elixir. Therefore, he took out the elixir furnace from his space. In addition to the two main ingredients, there were several other elixirs to supplement them. She had been on the move for the past few days and did not have much time to refine elixirs. It was rare for her to be on Tian Shan Mountain with no one to disturb her. She wanted to refine her mother's antidote elixir and then refine some medicine that could help her advance and heal her injuries. The elixirs needed to advance to the next level required a lot of elixirs. Moreover, each elixir was extremely precious and required a certain age. It was impossible to refine a large amount of elixirs. However, she could refine more elixirs. After all, she already had a lot of elixirs in her space. Knowing that she was going to refine elixirs, Xian Yuanmo's did not disturb her. He brought in Yi to walk around, preparing to find the old faker for tea. Only Hui Lang was left behind to assist Feng Zhou. However, just as he was about to leave to find the old faker, he saw Mo Chen, dressed in white, slowly walking over. Seeing him, his good mood was instantly ruined. What was this pretty boy doing here? This thought flashed through his mind. He walked forward with his hands behind his back and asked, Why are you here? Is something the matter? Chapter 1599. It's okay if you're not used to it. We'll be leaving soon, Xian Yuanmo said coldly. Hearing this, Mo Chen smiled and said, I still want you to stay for a few more days. After all, it's so peaceful here. Xian Yuanmo glanced at him and asked, Where's your master? My master is in seclusion. Hearing this, Xian Yuanmo frowned. Seclusion. This old man is avoiding me on purpose? Since you have nothing to do, why don't we have a cup of tea and a game of chess? Mo Chen invited him and walked forward. Seeing this, Xian Yuanmo paused for a moment and followed him. Feng Zhou, who was refining pills in front of the bamboo hut, didn't pay attention to them at all. Her mind was focused on her furnace of pills. The exquisite 7-colored flower and the icy heart white jade lotus, these two spirit herbs were both saint-grade antidotes. How many pills would she be able to refine in the end? Grey Wolf, who was by her side, helped her prepare the other elixirs. As time passed, a rich medicinal fragrance wafted out of the pill furnace and drifted into the air. Feng Zhou spent the entire afternoon preparing for the final step of dissolving the pill. However, at this moment, thunder rumbled in the sky. A dark cloud gathered above her head, accompanied by a flash of lightning, and a thunderclap struck down from above. Boom! The lightning struck the furnace, and the power of the heavenly path was injected into it. The rumbling thunder in the sky startled Xian Yuanmo and Mo Chen. They looked at the sky in surprise, looked at each other, and went forward together. At the back of the mountain, Tian Shan Elder, who was sitting cross-legged, looked at the lightning in the sky and muttered, "The star of destiny, the power of the heavenly path." Boom! When the second bolt of lightning struck, Hui Lang had already dodged far away. From a few meters away, he watched as the lightning accurately struck the pill furnace. At the same time, he also saw his master and young master Emochin walking over. Thus, he quickly walked towards them and came to his master's side. "Master, it's nothing. Don't worry, the ghost doctor is refining pills. It should be a pill of 5th grade or above, so it attracted the heavenly lightning." He knew that the pills refined by the ghost doctor were extraordinary. This cauldron of pills was able to attract heavenly lightning. He wondered what grade the pills were. How many pills were there in a cauldron? Xianyuan Mo stood there quietly, as if he hadn't heard Hui Lang's words. His gaze fell on the red figure, and his eyes were full of pride and satisfaction. This was the woman he had taken a fancy to. No matter when, she was always so different from the rest. And when she was concentrating on refining pills, her serious expression was so beautiful that he couldn't take his eyes off her. Emochin stood at the side and didn't say anything. He just watched quietly. He knew that Fingzhou's alchemy skills were extraordinary, but he didn't expect that a cauldron of pills that she casually refined could attract heavenly lightning. Such ability, such talent, she could be called a genius. Boom! It was also at this moment that the third bolt of heavenly lightning struck down. When the third bolt of heavenly lightning struck down, the dark clouds in the sky dispersed along with the airflow that permeated the air gradually dispersed as well. The only thing that could be clearly smelled was the dense medicinal fragrance that was being emitted from the cauldron of pills that caused one's heart to tremble. Chapter 1600. Bang! A gust of wind from her palm landed on the pill furnace. The furnace lid bounced up, and the pills in the furnace instantly flew out. However, just as she was about to reach out to catch them, a scene that made her dumbfounded appeared. After the 2 pills flew out of the furnace, a pair of transparent wings condensed from spiritual power appeared in an instant. The 2 pills flew up with a whoosh, and they even let out a childlike voice, "Quickly run, quickly run." Fengzhou was dumbfounded. He stared blankly at the 2 pills that had grown transparent wings and were desperately trying to escape. He was speechless for a long time. What was going on? How could the 2 pills that she had refined grow a pair of transparent wings? They could even speak. This was too strange. However, when she heard the cries of the 2 pills, she abruptly regained her senses. These were her mother's life-saving pills. She couldn't lose them. When she regained her senses, she chased after one of the pills and shouted, "Quick! Help me catch it!" Hui Lang and Ying Yi were also stunned. They had lived for so long, but this was the first time they had seen a pill fly away on its own. Furthermore, it could speak. Could it be that the pills that she had refined had a pill spirit? Hiss! Pill spirit. Was that possible? Thinking of this possibility, the 2 of them couldn't help but be shocked. The first to react were Xianyuan Mo's and Emochin. When the 2 of them saw that the 2 pills had grown wings and were about to escape, they knew that these 2 pills were top-grade divine pills that had given birth to a pill spirit. Therefore, when Fengzhou shouted, the 2 of them rushed forward at the same time, and each of them chased after one of the pills. However, the 2 pills were small and agile. Coupled with the fact that they had wings, the 2 of them caught nothing. After chasing for a long time, they finally caught the 2 pills that were about to escape and sent them back to Fengzhou. Keep it well. This pill has already given birth to a pill spirit, so it can escape. Xianyuan Mo's handed the pill to her. After she caught it in her hand, the pair of transparent wings on the pill had already disappeared. It also didn't make any sound and became like an ordinary pill. "This one is here." Emochin walked forward and handed the other pill to her. He smiled and said, "Fengzhou, you're really surprising. How did you refine a pill spirit? This has really broadened our horizons. Things like pill spirits only existed in legends in the past. Fengzhou took them and looked at the two pills. There were 6 spiritual auras flowing on them, forming pill patterns. Seeing that they were 6th-grade pills, she smiled. She put the pills away and said, "Actually, I just refined the pills as usual. The only difference is that I added something into the pills." "Oh. What is it?" Mo Chen asked curiously. "Yuanling." She smiled slightly. She was also a little surprised. She didn't expect that after adding a Yuanling to the pills could indeed be upgraded and could even give birth to a pill spirit. Hearing the 2 words Yuanling, Mo Chen was stunned for a moment. Then, he chuckled and said, "Fengzhou is indeed Fengzhou. You've even met a Yuanling. Well, you're always surprising people. You can't be measured by normal standards." Xianyuan Mose glanced at him indifferently. Then, he said to Fengzhou, "Do you still want to refine pills? If you do, we won't disturb you." Chapter 1601. Xianyuan Mose pursed his lips and said to Mo Chen, "We're not done with our game of chess." Then, he turned and left. Seeing this, Mo Chen smiled. With her hands behind her back, she left with him and went back to play chess. However, in the following days, Fengzhou seemed to have become addicted to refining pills. Whenever she had time, she would refine pills. In a few days, she had refined many pills. Until one day, when Xianyuan Mose heard the rumbling of thunder, he came to where she was. "Ha ha ha, another pill of the 5th level or higher. Ghost Doctor, you're too amazing." Hui Lang laughed loudly and looked excitedly at Fengzhou, who was standing in front of the pill furnace. In the past few days, the pills that the Ghost Doctor had refined were all of the 5th level or higher. Although there were only 2 or 3 pills produced in each furnace, every one of them was of the highest quality. Every time he saw those pills, he was extremely excited. Any one of these pills would sell for a sky-high price in the outside world. Any one of these pills would cause people to break their heads. But she actually used only a few days to refine dozens of these pills. This kind of production rate really made him feel that it was inconceivable. "It should be enough," Xianyuan Mose walked over and said to Fengzhou, who was examining the pills. "Why are you here?" Fengzhou looked up and asked with a smile. These past few days, he had been playing chess with Mo Chen. It was still early. Why was he here? "We've been here for a few days. It's time to leave," he said as his deep gaze met her smiling eyes. I was just about to talk to you about this. I've used up most of the pills in my space. There's no point in staying here. Let's go down the mountain today," she said with a smile. Then, she put away the pill furnace and walked over to his side. Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose smiled. We'll go down the mountain today. Then we'll let Mo Chen and his master know that we've disturbed you for the past few days. His master is in closed-door cultivation. Don't bother with him. Just let that pretty boy know," Xianyuan Mose said as he glanced at Mo Chen, who was walking towards them. When Mo Chen, who was slowly walking over, heard the words "pretty boy," she couldn't help but shake her head helplessly. Because he could feel that Xianyuan Mose seemed to have some enmity towards him, and this enmity probably came from Fengzhou. "You're leaving?" He came to the 2 of them and asked gently. When Fengzhou saw him, he smiled and said, "You came at the right time. We were just about to inform you that we were preparing to leave the mountain today. We have disturbed you for the past few days. Please help me thank your master for his icy heart white jade lotus." "All right, I will. Since you're leaving, be careful on your way." He smiled and nodded. Thus, Fengzhou and the rest packed up and prepared to leave. Mo Chen wanted to send them down the mountain, but was politely declined by Xianyuan Mose. Seeing this, he smiled and didn't force them. He just watched them leave from the top of the mountain. Chapter 1602. A few days later, Fengjiu and the others arrived at a town. As soon as they sat down in a restaurant, they heard the people in the restaurant talking about the Danyang sect. Have you heard? The sect master of the Danyang sect is dead. A man said in a low voice as he ate a peanut. The men at the same table were astonished and asked, "Dead? Is it true? When did this happen? How come we didn't know? This news only spread yesterday. I heard that the sect master of the Danyang sect went missing from his main peak. When he was found, he was at the cliff behind the mountain. Some people said that he slipped and fell to his death. Others said that he was assassinated. In short, the Danyang sect has been in a lot of trouble recently. Then wouldn't the Danyang sect be in chaos? Now that the sect master is dead, the people below must be in chaos, right? Didn't they provoke someone not long ago? And a peak master is dead. Now even the sect master is dead. This year is really unlucky for the Danyang sect. This is strange. I heard that the Danyang sect's higher-ups suppressed this matter. It seems that they don't want to investigate. There must be something unknown. Otherwise, why would a dignified sect master suddenly say that he fell to his death? But since the sect's people don't want to investigate, there must be someone above them who can't be offended. What a pity. That sect master was said to be an alchemist saint master, but he died just like that. It's really unexpected. Fengjiu was eating while listening to the people at the table. He felt a little strange. The sect master of the Danyang sect fell to his death. He couldn't be so stupid, right? Why did this sound so strange? Moreover, he fell to his death at this time. Thinking of this, she looked at Xianyuanmos, who was sitting opposite her and eating leisurely, and asked, "Do you know what happened?" Looking at his calm expression, she had an intuition that he should know something. Xianyuanmos responded and said, "If I'm not wrong, this should be done by your brother." As he said that, he picked up some food for her and said, "Hurry up and eat." "My brother?" She was a little surprised. Didn't her brother say that he had something to do? Why? Yes, it should be him. He knew that those men in black were sent by that person to assassinate you. When he saw me by your side, he knew that you wouldn't be in danger with me by your side, so he went to do that thing. Xianyuanmos put down his chopsticks and took a sip of wine. He didn't expect Guan Shilane to act so quickly. To be able to sneak into the Danyang sect from the outside, assassinate the sect master of the Danyang sect, and escape unscathed without alerting the others, he must be quite capable. How reckless! She frowned, her eyes filled with unconcealable worry. "Don't worry. He's fine and has already gone to your mother's place." Hearing this, Fengjiu was relieved. He ate while thinking about how to meet up with them. Xianyuanmos could tell that she was worried and said, "Let's rest for a while before we hit the road. If there are no delays on the road, we can reach there in a few days." Fengjiu nodded. He knew that even if he was in a hurry, he wouldn't be able to return home anytime soon. After eating, they saw that it was getting late and decided to stay in the city for the night. They planned to set off the next morning. That night, Xianyuanmos saw that Fengjiu seemed to be worried and asked, "What's wrong? Is there something on your mind?" Chapter 1603. Hearing this, Xianyuanmos held her hand and said, "Don't worry about him. He's just an old swindler. His words can't be taken seriously. But I keep having this uneasy feeling. I keep feeling that something uncontrollable will happen." She frowned and said, "You don't know. He's really a little mysterious. I have to believe him. Don't worry. No matter what happens, I'll face it with you. What will come will come. Just like that old swindler said, if it's a blessing, it's not a curse." If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. She replied and nestled in his arms. The next morning, they set off at dawn. They wanted to go home early after finishing their business. Moreover, Xianyuan Mose was thinking that once Fingzhou's mother was cured of the poison, he would send them back to the Phoenix dynasty first. After that, he would go back to prepare the betrothal gifts. Ever since he had the thought of marrying her, he began to have people gather rare treasures and prepare 100 chests of betrothal gifts. When the time was right, he would bring people to carry the betrothal gifts to the Phoenix court and bring her back to marry him. Now that this matter was right in front of him, his heart was filled with anticipation. Soon, he would be able to marry her. On the other side, Guan Shilin, dressed in black robes and carrying a broadsword, walked into the city. He walked through the streets and looked for the shop that Ling Shuang opened according to his sister's instructions. However, when he asked around and arrived at that place, he saw that there were many guards surrounding the shop, and he could faintly hear angry shouts coming from inside. Hearing that voice, he could tell that it was not the voice he was familiar with. Thus, he asked a man beside him, "What's going on here?" The man was suddenly patted on the shoulder. He was about to turn around and curse, but when he saw the burly man with a murderous aura, he couldn't help but shrink back. He hurriedly replied, "It's someone from a family in the neighboring city. They said they bought fake medicine here and asked for an explanation." Fake medicine? Guan Shilin raised his voice and sneered. He was about to walk in, but before he could take a step, he saw a fat man in his 30s being thrown out. "Get out. If you dare to cause trouble here again, I'll make you pay." Du Fan held a fan in one hand and walked out slowly with narrowed eyes. He stared at the fat man he threw out with a face full of warning. You've got guts. How dare you make a move on me?" "Very well. Guards, smash his shop for me." The fat man got up, pulled up his belt, pointed at the shop, and shouted at the guard. Bang! A powerful voice suddenly rang out, causing the ground to tremble. Everyone was so frightened that they took a few steps back. "Let's see who dares." Guan Shilin's deep and fierce voice was filled with a bloodthirsty killing intent. He was dressed in black and his fierce gaze swept across the guards. Wherever his gaze passed, the guards involuntarily lowered their heads. They didn't dare to look directly at his bloodthirsty and fierce gaze. Du Fan's eyes lit up when he saw Guan Shilin. Because there were many people, he did not go up to greet him. He only nodded slightly at him. Chapter 1604. Especially when the other party was tall and strong, while he was short and fat. The strong contrast made him swallow his saliva and take 2 steps back, not daring to get too close to the other party. "Who do you think I am?" Guan Shilin snorted in a low voice, releasing his dark force at this moment. The strong pressure pressed down on the fat man, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. "This is a matter between the Zhao family and their shop. Who are you? Why are you taking the lead?" A low voice suddenly came from behind the crowd. When he heard this voice, the fat man was instantly happy, and his eyes lit up with excitement. "Big brother. I'm here." Guan Shilin and Du Fan looked in the direction of the voice and saw that the crowd was pushed aside by a group of guards. The guards were escorting a middle-aged man in luxurious clothes as he walked over. "Master." When the guards saw the middle-aged man, they quickly lowered their heads and bowed respectfully. At this moment, Guan Shilin and Du Fan sized up the man without batting an eyelid. They saw that he was a strong man at the early stage of the fairy realm, and his aura was sharp and intimidating. When he walked over, his eyes were fixed on Guan Shilin. "Big brother, these people are too much. You must teach them a lesson. Otherwise, the reputation of the Zhao family will be ruined." The fat man fanned the flames, as if he was afraid that the matter would not be blown out of proportion. "Du Fan, tell them who I am." Do I have the right to interfere with the matters here? Guan Shilin said to Du Fan without turning his head. Yes. Du Fan responded and walked forward, saying, this is the young master of our family. If he doesn't have the right to interfere, who else has the right to do so? Oh. The young master of this shop. Is he the owner? The man who was addressed as the head of the family said in a deep voice. His eyes were glowing as he sized up Guan Shilin. He then smiled and said, are you a mercenary? Your aura is very similar to the murderous mercenaries who are out on missions. In other words, he saw that Guan Shilin was a dark force cultivator and did not take him seriously. After all, in the eyes of spirit cultivators, dark force cultivators were inferior. They only had strength, and were not to be feared at all. No matter how strong they were, dark force cultivators could not be compared to spirit cultivators. Although he saw Guan Shilin's murderous aura, he still looked down on him. Therefore, there was a hint of disdain in his words. He even bluntly described Guan Shilin as a mercenary who risked his life to earn a living. Guan Shilin understood the meaning behind his words. He raised his head and laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this, the master, he did not understand. Shilin, what are you laughing at? This person was really arrogant and impudent. A mere dark force cultivator dared to be so arrogant in front of him, a fairy. He really did not know what was good for him. Guan Shilin stopped laughing and looked at the master with a half-smile, saying, I'm laughing. Although I don't know which family you are from, judging from your judgment and actions, I don't think you're from a prestigious family. Chapter 1605. Are you threatening me? The family head stared at Guan Shilin with a gloomy expression as he released the aura of a fairy realm fighter. However, to Guan Shilin, who had experienced many battles and seen many powerful fighters, a fighter at the beginner stage of the fairy realm was not much of a threat to him. In fact, he could easily withstand his opponent's pressure. Threatening you? Heh, you really think too highly of yourself. Guan Shilin laughed coldly and said, before you cause trouble, you'd better find out where this place is. Don't provoke someone you shouldn't provoke. You'll regret it if the entire clan is implicated. Hearing this, the family head's heart skipped a beat, and his brows furrowed tightly. At this moment, he had no choice but to take this Xian cultivator seriously. Under the pressure of a fairy realm fighter, Guan Shilin's expression did not change. Furthermore, he dared to speak to him so fearlessly. It was obvious that the power behind them was not ordinary. However, wasn't this just a small medicine store? Could it be that there was something special about it? At this moment, he could not help but hesitate. If he really provoked someone powerful, he was afraid that the entire clan would be implicated, just as Guan Shilin had said. Big brother, don't listen to this guy's nonsense. He's just trying to scare you. The fat man ran over and glared fiercely at Guan Shilin. However, at this moment, the middle-aged man did not reply. Instead, he was deep in thought. At this moment, the middle-aged man who had been hiding at the side thought for a while and finally walked forward. Family head, I have something to say. The Zhao family head glanced at him and saw that it was the steward who followed his younger brother. Only then did he signal for him to come forward. However, when he heard the steward whisper a few words into his ear, his face couldn't help but change greatly. He immediately raised his foot and kicked. Bastard! Why didn't you say anything just now? Why did you let him fool around? He cursed angrily and kicked him a few meters away. It could be said that the more angry he was, the greater the strength of his kick. When the fat man beside him saw this, he could not help but feel guilty. He glanced at his brother and lowered his head, not daring to say anything else. Although the family head of the Zhao family cared about his reputation and was somewhat arrogant, he was not a brainless person. He could still distinguish between the severity of the situation and the consequences. Therefore, after taking a deep breath, He cupped his hands and said to Guanxilin and Du Fan, "I've offended you earlier because I didn't know the cause. It's my fault for not disciplining him properly and causing trouble. I apologize to the both of you, and I hope that you can let this matter rest." Guanxilin was not one to push his luck. Seeing that Du Fan had apologized, Guanxilin looked at Du Fan and nodded. Then, he said, "I hope this kind of thing will not happen again." As soon as he finished speaking, he shouted to the people who were watching the show, "Everyone, disperse. There's nothing to see." Then, he walked back into the shop with Du Fan. "Big brother, why did you?" The fat man stepped forward and was about to speak. After all, he was somewhat unwilling to see his brother apologize to them. "Go back immediately." The family head of the Zhao family shouted at him. He flicked his sleeves and walked away with a dark face. What a disgrace. "Big brother, big brother." The fat man shouted and quickly chased after him with his men. Chapter 1606. It's quite interesting. A man in luxurious clothes smiled and nodded. That person just now was the head of the Zhao family in the neighboring city. Although he's not from a big family, he's still considered a medium family. Yet, he didn't dare to provoke this small pharmacy. A small pharmacy. Another man in luxurious clothes took a sip of tea and then said, "You're the disciples of the big families in the city. You don't even know that this pharmacy is not simple." "We know that this pharmacy is not simple, but how is it not simple?" "Do you know?" "Let's hear it." The others laughed and gestured for the man to speak. "I only heard my father and an uncle mention it by chance. They said that the owner behind this pharmacy is called the Ghost Doctor. He's proficient in the art of refining pills and medicine. Moreover, he has a miraculous medical skill that can bring the dead back to life." The man said. He seemed to want to whet their appetite. He deliberately paused and glanced at them. "Okay, hurry up and speak. Don't stop for a while." Seeing this, the man smiled and said, "It's said that the Ghost Doctor has a close relationship with the owner of the black market. Moreover, his background is extraordinary. This pharmacy seems to be selling some ordinary medicinal herbs, but in fact, there's a secret." "Oh. What secret?" Someone couldn't help but ask. "You should have heard about my father's advancement last month, right?" The man looked at the few people and asked. "Yes, I heard. Didn't your father suffer an extremely serious internal injury that year? His strength has been stuck at the beginning of the fairy stage. I wanted to ask you about this. How did your father suddenly advance? This matter has already spread in the big families in the city. However, I didn't hear from my father's generation how he advanced." A man said curiously. "That's because my father bought 2 pills from this medicine shop. One is for treating internal injuries, and the other is for increasing one's strength." The brocade-robed man said proudly. "There's such a thing. What kind of pill is so powerful? It must be worth a lot of money, right? Why didn't my father buy such a powerful pill? He's now at the bottleneck of advancement. If he had such a pill, he would definitely succeed in advancing." "That's right. I didn't hear my father mention such a thing. Don't they know? Otherwise, why would they let go of such a good opportunity?" "Gee." The man in brocade who spoke earlier sneered and glanced at them. "Do you think you can buy it just because you have money?" Hearing this, the few of them were stunned and asked in unison, "Is it not?" "Of course not." The brocade-robed man shook his index finger and said, "In addition to money, you also have to have the medicine purchase token issued by this pharmacy. I heard from my father that those who have the medicine purchase token can't buy the medicine, and those who have the medicine purchase token can't buy the medicine either. This pharmacy is so strange. Not many medicine pills are sold to the outside world, but people are fighting over them. They know this, but no one dares to offend them. don't you think it's awesome?" Hearing his words, they nodded in a daze. "Awesome! But, how did you get that token? Don't tell me that we really won't be able to buy medicinal pills if we bring the money in." A man couldn't help but ask. When he thought about the existence of such an inconceivable pill, his heart couldn't help but stir. Chapter 1607. If he could get a medicinal pill that could help him advance, then as long as his strength improved, he would have a chance to compete for the position of the family's young master. Just as he was pondering, he heard the voice of the person beside him. "I heard that the tokens came from a strike auction. Because the quantity is limited, even if someone gets a token, they won't sell it. They usually keep it in their own hands. Moreover, very few people can get it. My father spent a lot of effort to get the 2 tokens that he got. Unfortunately, after he bought the medicinal pill, the 2 tokens were taken back. This kind of place, not to mention that Master Zhao doesn't dare to provoke, even the big families in our city don't dare to rashly provoke." A man murmured. He really didn't expect that such an inconspicuous shop hid such a power. On the other side, in the pharmacy, Du Fan brought Guan Shilin inside to chat for a while. After learning that he had met with his master, he smiled and said, "In that case, I'll take you back to see Madam first." "Okay, I came this time to see my adoptive mother and tell her not to worry about Xiaojiu. Before she comes back, I'll stay here," Guan Shilin said as he stood up and walked outside with him. Du Fan asked him to wait for a while. After giving instructions to the clerk in the pharmacy, he took Guan Shilin out of the pharmacy and went to the courtyard where they lived. In the courtyard, Ling Shuang took care of Sheng Wanwanrong. In addition to taking care of the family's affairs, Ling Hua occasionally went to the pharmacy with Du Fan. Because their master had been away for some time, without her, they always felt lonely. "Madam, the weather is getting cold. Put on the cloak." Ling Shuang was worried that she would catch a cold, so he took the cloak and helped Sheng Wanwanrong put it on. Sheng Wanwanrong pulled down the cloak and smiled gently at Ling Shuang. "Ling Shuang, sit down and chat with me." Hearing this, Ling Shuang responded and sat down next to her. However, she wasn't good at talking, so she didn't know how to talk to her, so she asked, "Madam, what do you want to talk about?" "Let's talk about Xiaojiu. Tell me, how did you and your brother meet her?" she said with a smile, looking at Ling Shuang next to her with expectation. She regretted not being able to accompany her daughter as she grew up. She could only know what her daughter had encountered and done these years from the people around her, as well as from her own mouth. Ling Shuang thought for a while and then told her how she and her brother followed their master in detail. However, one thing led to another. When she finished one thing, she found that Madam would ask, and then. So, for 2 to 4 hours, she was the one talking, and Madam was the one listening. They weren't chatting at all. She really wasn't good at talking, so she could only answer when Madam asked. When she talked about how her master's identity was replaced, how her face was disfigured, and how she couldn't go home, she saw that Madam's eyes were slightly red and she was crying, so she quickly stopped. "Madam, it's all over. You don't have to be sad." She clumsily comforted her. Chapter 1608. Lang Hua walked in from outside. Seeing his wife in the courtyard with red eyes and tears, he was startled and asked, "Madam, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" At the same time, he looked at his sister inquiringly. "I'm fine." Shengguan Wanrong shook her head. Lang Hua stood up and said, "It's all my fault. I talked about Master's past and made you cry." Hearing this, Lang Hua was relieved and showed a gentle smile. "Madam, the past is in the past, you don't have to be sad. Master is very good now, I think she doesn't want Madam to be sad about her past." "Yes, I know." Shengguan Wanrong replied and wiped her tears. Lang Hua stepped forward and said, "That's right, Madam. Master's sworn brother is here. His name is Guan Shilin. Master should have mentioned him to you before. It's him. He's here. Shengguan Wanrong was startled and stood up. Xiao Jiao told me about her brother. Where is he? He's in the front hall. He just arrived in the city today and said he met Master. He knew Madam was here, so he came to see you. Leng Hua said. He also brought news about Master. Hearing this, Shengguan Wanrong hurriedly said, then I'll go see him quickly. So, she let Leng Hua and Leng Hua accompany her and they went forward together. In the hall, Guan Shilin was drinking tea and waiting. Not long after, he heard footsteps outside and looked outside. When he saw who it was, he quickly put down his teacup and stood up. Shilin greets mother. He stepped forward and knelt on one knee to greet Shengguan Wanrong after she entered the hall. Hearing him call her mother, Shengguan Wanrong hurriedly stepped forward and helped him up. Get up, get up. She helped him up and looked at him. Looking at the tall and sturdy man in front of her, Shengguan Wanrong nodded. I've always heard Xiao Jiao mention you as her brother. Today I finally meet you. Come, sit down and talk. She motioned for him to sit down and at the same time walked to the hall and sat down. Thank you, mother. Guan Shilin said with a smile. Then he looked curiously at the person sitting at the head of the table. When he saw her young face, he couldn't help but smile. Godmother, Xiao Jiao has been looking for you for so long. Finally, she found you. If Godfather knew, he would be very happy. Yes, it's not easy for that child either. I haven't been by her side for so many years, and I've let her suffer so much. She looked at Guan Shilin and said, fortunately, she has a brother like you to take care of her. She told me that you treat her very well and take good care of her. Thank you so much. This is what I should do. Speaking of which, she has helped me a lot. Guan Shilin was a little embarrassed. After all, he really didn't help his sister much. On the contrary, she helped him a lot. Hearing this, Shengguan Wanrong said, we're family. Siblings should support each other and take care of each other. Although you two siblings are sworn brothers, you're better than biological siblings. When I found out that Xiao Jiao had a brother like you, I was very happy. You must be tired from running around. I asked Ling Shuang to clean up a room for you. Later, eat something to fill your stomach and then have a good rest. Chapter 1609. Mose is also with her. That's good. Hearing this, she relaxed. She had heard her daughter talk about Xianyuan Mose before. Last time, he said that he would return to the Phoenix dynasty to hold the wedding after picking her up. She stood up and said, you must be tired from the journey back. Let Ling Shuang bring you to eat something first, then have a good rest. Okay. Guan Shilin stood up and nodded at her. At this time, no matter if it was Feng Zhou or Shengguan Wanrong, no one knew that Feng Xiao, who was far away in the Phoenix dynasty, had rushed over after receiving the news from Feng Zhou. Along with him was Feng Zhou's contracted divine beast, the ancient fire phoenix. At this time, they were on their way to the 8 great empires. At this time, Feng Xiao, who was dressed in black and covered in dust, sat down on a rock by the side of the road. He took out some water from his Qinquan bag and drank a few mouthfuls. After receiving the news, he knew that Xiao Jiao had found her mother. He couldn't wait any longer and prepared to go personally to bring them home. Fire Phoenix, who had received the news, said that she wanted to come along. Her father felt that the Phoenix dynasty was peaceful now, and the surrounding countries had allied with each other. Their position was very stable, so he let Fire Phoenix go with him so that he could take care of her on the way. Along the way, Fire Phoenix transformed into a bird and followed beside him. Although they met with a few dangers along the way, they passed through them safely. Fire Phoenix, who was shaped like a bird and had the color of fire, flapped her wings and flew down. She landed on Feng Zhao's shoulder and asked, how do we find them when we reach the 8 great empires? We can find Moses' people to inform them. He said, then stood up and said, let's continue on our way. He took out a flying device and threw it up. He jumped onto it with Fire Phoenix and continued on their journey. Another half a month passed. Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose, who didn't know that Feng Xiao and Fire Phoenix were on their way, had already returned to the city. They were delayed by some things on the way. Otherwise, they wouldn't have spent half a month. Seeing Xianyuan Mose's body stiffening as they approached the courtyard, Fengjiu was a little surprised and asked, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Why do you feel weird? Behind them, Grey Wolf, who was walking with Lao Bai, grinned silently. How was Master not feeling well? He was obviously worried about meeting his mother-in-law. The last time I saw your mother, she was unconscious. This can be considered the first time we've met, right? I'm a little. He pursed his lips and told her the truth. As soon as he said this, he saw her next to him giggle with a shocked expression. He couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. What's so funny? I'm just worried about giving her a bad impression. Okay. I won't laugh. She smiled and waved her hand. Her eyes were still curved into crescents as she said, what if she doesn't have a good impression of you? You won't marry me. That's impossible. Xianyuan Mose said in a low voice. That's right. If that's the case, why are you so nervous? What's more, I've already mentioned you to my mother. She should have a good impression of you. Don't worry. She's a very nice person. She smiled with her eyes narrowed as she spoke. Holding his hand, she strode forward and knocked on the door in front of the courtyard. Lang Hua, who was inside, heard the knocking and came forward to ask, who is it? Chapter 16:10. Hearing the sound, Lang Hua smiled and hurried to open the door. When he saw the people outside the door, he said happily, Master is back. Lang Hua, how is my mother recently? And, is my brother here? Fengjiu walked into the yard with a smile and looked inside, but didn't see them. He opened the door and let them in, saying, Master, don't worry. Madam is in good health. Young Master Guan arrived half a month ago. During this time, he went to the medicine shop whenever he was free. Today, he went out with Du Fan and hasn't come back yet. It's good that he's here. She nodded and asked, where's my mother? Madam and my sister are in the backyard. Lang Hua said, Madam has been talking about you these days. If she knows that you're back, she will be very happy. Fengjiu and Xianyuan Mose looked at each other, and the two of them walked to the backyard. Hui Lang handed White to Lang Hua and followed them inside. Before they reached the backyard, Tun Yun, who was lying in the backyard, seemed to sense something. He stood up and ran out, Master is back. Hearing this, Shangwan Wanrong, who was in the backyard, was stunned. Then she stood up happily and was about to walk out, Xiao Zhou is back. Lang Hua, who was next to her, hurriedly held her, Madam, please sit down first. I'll go and see. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw several people coming in from outside the yard. No need to see. It's us. Fengjiu's voice came with a smile. She let go of Xianyuan Mose's hand and walked quickly to her mother. Mother, how are you? How are you recently? I'm very good. But did you encounter any danger outside? Did this trip go well? Shangwan Wanrong took Fengjiu's hand and asked, looking her up and down to see if she was hurt. No, with him here, I won't get hurt. Fengjiu smiled and pulled Xianyuan Mose forward. Mother, Xianyuan Mose, do you still remember? Shangwan Wanrong nodded. Her face was full of love, and she was very satisfied with Xianyuan Mose. Yes, I remember. I had a quick glance at her, and I had an impression of her. Today, I see her again. She is really outstanding, and she is a good match for you. The last time she was rescued, she saw him before she fainted. When she woke up, she found out that he had something to do and left. Later, she found out from Shilin that he was protecting her daughter. She was relieved. Today, after seeing him, she increasingly felt that no matter whether it was in terms of bearing or aura, there were absolutely few people who could be compared to him. When Xianyuan Mo saw this, he stepped forward and bowed. Greetings, Aunt Rong. We're family, there's no need to be so polite. She smiled and said to the two of them, come, sit down and rest. The two of them looked at each other and smiled, then stepped forward and sat down. I'll tell the servants to prepare some food for the masters. Ling Shuang said, bowing and then retreating. When she walked out of the courtyard, she was stopped by Hui Lang. Ling Shuang, long time no see. Did you miss me? Hui Lang asked with a careless smile. When Ying Yi heard this, the corner of his mouth twitched and he glanced at him, then silently looked away. When Ling Shuang heard this, she looked at him, her beautiful face expressionless as she said, no. Chapter 1611. Sister, Master probably hasn't eaten yet. Why don't you go to the kitchen and let them know first? Lang Hua's gentle voice came, making Hui Lang's voice stuck in his throat and he stared blankly. Okay. Ling Shuang responded and then moved away. Lang Hua looked at Hui Lang with a smile and asked, what were you talking about just now? Hee, nothing much. But you, boy, your body seems to be a lot stronger than before. I haven't practiced for a long time. Why don't we go and practice? Hui Lang patted Lang Hua's shoulder and asked with a smile. Practice? Lang Hua looked at him with a gentle and harmless smile on his face. Yes, it's a good opportunity to test your skills and see if you've improved recently. Is this the way to test my skills? As Lang Hua spoke, his body suddenly moved, his feet hooked, and his hands clasped Hui Lang's hands, turned him around, and threw him out. Bang! Okay. Hui Lang fell heavily to the ground with a loud bang. He lay on the ground with his eyes wide open and held his breath. You little brat. Why didn't you give me a warning before you attacked? Do you know that this is a sneak attack? Ying Yi looked at Lang Hua with some surprise. Just now, his feet moved in an instant, and his hands and lower body cooperated to throw Hui Lang to the ground in an instant. That speed and strength really opened his eyes. This is not a sneak attack. I did ask. I asked if it was like this. Lang Hua looked at Hui Lang with a harmless and gentle smile. Okay. I was careless. Hui Lang could only swallow this loss. He knew in his heart that this brat must have done this because he didn't like him teasing his sister. He was magnanimous and didn't want to argue with him. The people inside heard the commotion outside, but they just smiled and ignored it. They sat opposite each other and talked about the things they had encountered recently. Finally, Fengjiu took out the medicine. Mother, this is the antidote. Hurry up and take it. After taking the antidote pill, the residual poison in your body will seep out from your pores. Furthermore, no poison will have any effect on you for the next 10 years. In other words, this is not only an antidote, but also a medicinal pill that can make me immune to any kind of poison for 10 years. Shangguan Wanrong was somewhat astonished. What grade of medicinal pill is this? How can it be so magical? This is a 6th level upper grade antidote pill. Other than the 2 300-year-old antidotes as the main ingredients, I have also added more than 10 antidotes. Moreover, although this pill is only a 6th level pill, it has already formed a pill spirit. Hurry up and take a look. Fengjiu poured the pill into his hand and handed it to her. Shangguan Wanrong took it and looked at it. She couldn't help but be shocked and asked in shock, Xiaojiu, this was made by you? I made it. She nodded. You can actually refine this kind of medicinal pill. Your talent in alchemy is really unbelievable. I'm afraid that even the sect master of the Danyang sect can't refine this kind of medicinal pill. She still felt somewhat incredulous when she held this kind of medicinal pill in her hand. She was also an alchemist, so she naturally knew how rare this kind of medicinal pill was. However, her daughter could actually refine it. She wasn't even 20 years old and already had such high talent. It was really unbelievable. Chapter 16:12. Fingzhou handed the pill to her and said, "Mother, take it when you go back to your room. It will help you expel the toxins from your body." "Okay, then I'll go back to my room first." Shangguan Wanrong took the pill and went back. Seeing this, Xianyuan Mose and Fingzhou also stood up and walked out. Outside the courtyard, Fingzhou looked at Shangguan Wanrong and asked, "Are you tired? Do you want to rest?" "No need. Aren't you going to see your brother?" "I'll go with you," Xianyuan Mose said as he took her hand and walked out. On the other side, Guan Shilin and Du Fan rushed back after receiving the message from Leng Hua. As soon as they entered, Leng Hua smiled and said to them, "Master is in the hall." "Did Xianyuan come back with Xiaozhou?" Guan Shilin asked as he walked. Leng Hua nodded, "Yes, Yama Lord is also inside. They've already seen Madam." So Guan Shilin strode inside, Du Fan and Leng Hua followed behind him. "Xiaozhou, you're back. Did everything go well on the way?" Guan Shilin asked with a bright smile as soon as he stepped through the door. Who knew that Fengzhou, who was sitting in the middle of the hall, didn't look too good. Xianyuan Mose, who was sitting next to her, was sipping his tea and pretending not to see anything. Seeing this, he felt a little strange and asked, "Xiaozhou, what's wrong? Did something happen?" "Brother, you're too reckless," Fengzhou said angrily and stared at him angrily. "How could you sneak into the Danyang sect alone to assassinate the sect leader of the Danyang sect? If anything happens to you, what do you want me to do?" Hearing this, Guan Shilin knew that he was in the wrong and made her worry, so he smiled awkwardly. "It's actually not that difficult, and I'm here, aren't I? Look, I'm not missing an arm or a leg." He patted his arms and kicked his legs to show her that his limbs were intact and that he was not injured at all. "You'll regret it when you get hurt," she said angrily. "Aren't you going to tell us what happened? Didn't the Danyang sect realize it was you?" Hearing this, Guan Shilin smiled confidently and said, "Xiaozhou, you underestimate your brother. Do you think I've wasted all these years? If I couldn't even assassinate someone, how could I have survived until now?" At this point, he puffed out his chest and smiled. "Do you know that I, your brother, am already quite famous in the mercenary world? One person is more than enough." Hearing this, Fengzhou didn't know whether to be angry or laugh. She was naturally happy that he was outstanding, but when she knew that he would do such dangerous things for her, she was angry and worried. If something happened to him, how could she be at ease? Xianyuan Mose put down his teacup and glanced at Guan Shilin, then said to Fengzhou, "It's okay, he did it out of good intentions. Don't blame him." "I'm not blaming him, I'm just worried about him," Fengzhou said, then looked at Guan Shilin and said, "Brother, you're not allowed to do such things again. If you really want to do it, you have to tell me first and let me ask someone to help you. You can't keep me in the dark." Okay, there won't be a next time. Don't worry." Guan Shilin nodded, then looked at the two and asked, "You didn't encounter any more assassins on your way, right? Was it peaceful?" Chapter 16:13. Other than that assassination attempt, they did not encounter any other assassination attempts. However, it was not very peaceful on the way back. While they were talking, they suddenly heard a knock on the door. The people in the hall were slightly surprised. Seeing that everyone was here, they were a little surprised. Who else would come besides them? "I'll go take a look," Leng Hua said as he walked out. The hall was not far from the door, so the sound of knocking naturally came from outside. When Leng Hua opened the door and saw two strangers standing outside, he was slightly surprised and asked, "Who are you looking for?" "We're disciples of the Danyang sect. We're looking for..." Before Luo Heng could finish his sentence, Chen Dao pulled him aside and finished his sentence. "I'm Chen Dao and he's Luo Heng. We're here to look for Fingzhou." Hearing this, Leng Hua's eyes moved slightly. He glanced at the two of them and said, "Please wait a moment." With that, he closed the door again. Looking at the closed door, Luo Heng's eyes widened. "Why did he lock us out? That's too rude." Chen Dao glanced at him and said, "Just wait. I'm not in a hurry, so why are you in a hurry?" "How can I not be in a hurry? We've been out for so long and asked around for so long before we found this place. We don't even know if she's here." Luo Heng muttered and said, "Moreover, the sect leader is dead. The sect must be in chaos now. If we really can't find her, I think it's better for us to go back." "No, this must be the place," Chen Dao said with certainty. Hearing this, Luo Heng could only stand outside and wait. Originally, his master had told them to remind Fingzhou of her safety after they found her. However, now that the sect leader was dead, the danger should be gone, right? Now that they met again, he did not know what to say. Inside, the people who were talking stopped and looked at Leng Hua when they saw him enter alone. "Master, two people from the Danyang sect are outside. They're called Chen Dao and Luo Heng. They say they want to see you." When Fingzhou first heard that they were from the Danyang sect, he thought that they were from the Danyang sect. However, when he heard that it was Chen Dao and Luo Heng, he was stunned for a moment before saying in realization, "It's them. Let them in. I know him." "Yes." Leng Hua responded, then turned and walked out. Could it be that the people of the Danyang sect knew that I killed their sect master and came looking for me? Guan Shilin said, worried that he would cause trouble for her. "I won't." Fengzhou smiled and said, "These two are my friends in the Danyang sect. I don't think they're here for that." Seeing this, Guan Shilin didn't say anything else. He sat in the hall and drank his tea, waiting for the two to arrive. Not long after, under the lead of Leng Hua, two men walked in. "Fengzhou, you're really here." Luo Heng was so surprised to see her that he even raised his voice. Chen Dao still looked casual and casual. When he saw Fengzhou in red, he reached out to stroke his mustache and looked at the man in black sitting next to Fengzhou. TSK, what a coincidence. Not only did he see Fengzhou, but he also saw the Yama Lord of Hell's palace. Last time, he was wearing a mask. This time, he wasn't wearing a mask. So this was what he looked like. He was much more handsome and younger than he had imagined. Chapter 16-14. "Chen Dao, did you see anything?" She looked at him teasingly. Seeing that he was in good spirits, it seemed that he had returned to being the confident Chen Dao of the past after his legs recovered. "I thought that the master of Yan Dian would be an old man, or at least a middle-aged uncle. I didn't expect him to be so young, even younger than me." Chen Dao stroked his mustache as he spoke. Feng Zhou's lips twitched when he heard that. Even Xianyuan Mo's, who was drinking tea, choked on his tea when he heard what Feng Zhou said. He coughed softly and glanced at the people below. Feng Zhou looked at him speechlessly and asked, "Why is it an old man? At the very least, you know that I'm not even 20 years old yet. How could a young and beautiful woman like me take a fancy to an old man? That's why I said it was a surprise. I didn't expect him to be so young." His eyes swept toward Xianyuan Mo's again. Seeing his imposing manner, he couldn't help but think to himself, "I'm afraid that this person isn't just the Yama Lord of Yandian. He must have some other identity that others don't know." Luo Heng, on the other hand, was a little restrained because everyone here was stronger than him, especially Feng Jiu and the black-robed man on the main seat. Their powerful pressure and the aura of a superior made him not dare to breathe loudly. Hearing Qingdao fearlessly say these words in front of the black-robed man, he couldn't help but move to his side and tug on his sleeve. Unexpectedly, Qingdao's face was filled with impatience as he asked, "Why do you keep tugging on my sleeve?" When the people in the hall saw this, a smile appeared on their faces. These two people were really interesting. "Stop talking, do you want to die?" Luo Heng glared, then said to Fengzhou and Xianyuanmo embarrassedly, "He's like this. If Fengzhou knows, he doesn't mean any harm." "Alright, don't be so restrained. Ling Shuang has prepared some food and wine. Let's go and have a drink." She looked at the two of them and said. Hearing this, Qingdao immediately said, "Sure. We couldn't eat or sleep well while looking for you. Now that we're here, we have to be the host." Thus, Fengzhou asked Ling Shuang to prepare the food and wine, and the group moved to the side hall. After more than 10 dishes were served, Xianyuanmo, Fengzhou, Guan Shilin, Qingdao, and Luo Heng sat down. Everyone else except for Ling Shuang, who poured wine for them. The rest. After drinking a round of wine, Feng Jiu asked, "You said you've been looking for me all the way. Why? What's the matter?" Luo Heng and Qingdao looked at each other. After a pause, Qingdao said, "Actually, it's meaningless to talk about this now." "Oh? What do you mean?" She raised her eyebrows. "The reason we came down the mountain to look for you was actually because of Duan Mubai's orders. He ordered us to come down the mountain to look for you." Qingdao then told her the whole story. He told her why they were here, why they came down, and the recent news about the sect. Fengzhou was silent for a while. She didn't expect Duan Mubai to ask them to remind her. "You're too late. She was ambushed a month ago. It was an assassination attempt by 4 powerful fighters of the fairy realm. Fortunately, she was lucky. Otherwise, Chapter 16-15. The two of them were silent. They had asked around on their way here, and naturally, they had also heard about this incident. They really did not expect it to be true. Moreover, it was an assassination attempt led by 4 fairy realm masters and dozens of people. Fengzhou was really lucky not to have died. "Alright, this matter is already over. Let's not talk about it anymore. It's rare that we're all here today, so let's have a good drink." She raised her glass and toasted the two of them. "This is a toast to the two of you. Thank you for telling me about this. Please." The two of them raised their wine cups and drank it in one gulp. As Fengzhou talked about the topic, the dining table gradually became lively. Xianyuanmo did not speak much. He sat next to Fengzhou, and when he saw her drinking too much, he would say a few words of advice and put some food in her bowl. Fengzhou's smile when she looked back at him, and the deep affection and trust in her eyes also gave people an indescribable feeling in their hearts. This was the first time Qingdao and Luo Heng saw the two of them interact. They used to be very familiar with Fengzhou when they were in the faction, but they had never seen her show such an expression and gaze. The two of them interacted so naturally and calmly, as if they were an old married couple who had known each other for many years. There was no need for too many words between them. A look, a smile, and an action was enough to replace everything else. The kind of tacit understanding that did not need to be said made them envious. If they could be like them in life, meeting a partner who knew and loved each other so well, what more could they ask for? Qingdao and Luo Heng stayed there. Especially since they drank too much, when Leng Hua helped them to rest, they couldn't tell which direction was north, south, east, and west. They slept until the next morning. In the early morning of the next day, Shangguan Wanrong had been adjusting her qi since yesterday. Layers of black toxin seeped out of her pores. She asked Leng Shuang to prepare hot water for her to take a bath. Then she changed her clothes and walked out of the room. Perhaps it was because the daughter she missed so much had returned, or perhaps it was because the poison in her body had been cleared, she felt refreshed. Thus, she went to the kitchen early in the morning to prepare breakfast for everyone. Although there was a cook in the courtyard, she felt guilty when she thought about how she had not cooked a meal for her daughter for so many years and had to run around for her. She knew that her daughter liked good food and her cooking skills were not bad, so she wanted to make breakfast for everyone. Ling Shuang, who knew that she was going to cook, came to her side and said, "Madam, let me help you." "Okay, then help me. I haven't cooked for a long time, so I'm afraid I'm a little rusty." As Shangwan Wanrong spoke, she entered the kitchen with Ling Shuang. However, when she saw that there was not much meat and vegetables in the kitchen, she said to Ling Shuang, "It's still early. Xiao Jiu and the others won't get up so soon. Accompany me to go grocery shopping." "All right." Ling Shuang nodded and walked forward with her. When they were about to go out to buy groceries, they saw Guan Shilin preparing to practice martial arts in the front yard. "Godmother, what are you doing so early in the morning?" Guan Shilin walked forward and asked in surprise. Seeing that it was him, Shangwan Wanrong smiled and said, "I want to make breakfast for everyone. There isn't enough food in the kitchen, so I asked Ling Shuang to accompany me to buy groceries." "Grocery shopping? Okay, I'll go with you," he said, intending to go out with them. Chapter 16:16. "It's okay, Godmother. I can help you carry your things. Let's go." He took the lead and walked to the outer courtyard to open the door for them. In fact, he was worried about the two of them going out. Ling Shuang didn't disguise himself, and his cold face was very eye-catching. His godmother's appearance was also very gentle and beautiful. He was still worried about letting the two of them go out. It was better to go with them, in case something happened and he couldn't explain to Xiao Jiu. Seeing this, Shangwan Wanrong smiled and let him go. When the three of them left the courtyard and walked on the street, she realized that it was the right decision to let Guan Shilin follow them. The people on the street occasionally looked at her and Ling Shuang with amazement, and their gazes followed them all the way. Some stared at them and didn't look at the road and bumped into the people in front of them. Some even wanted to go closer, but after seeing Guan Shilin behind them, they didn't dare to go forward and could only watch from afar. Shangwan Wanrong secretly shook her head at this. She rarely went out and actually forgot about this man's bad nature of liking beauty. Under Guan Shilin's escort, they went to the market and bought everything they wanted to buy and went back. After sending them back to the courtyard, Guan Shilin went back to the front yard to practice his martial arts, while Shangwan Wanrong and Ling Shuang started to get busy in the kitchen. When Fengjiu woke up and found out that her mother and Ling Shuang were making breakfast in the kitchen, she washed up and went straight to the kitchen. Before she even stepped into the kitchen, she smelled the fragrance and couldn't help but take a deep breath. "Wow! It smells so good. What delicious food are you making? I'm dying of thirst." She smiled as she leaned forward with her eyes squinted. "Master." Ling Shuang called out with a smile and stepped back to let her come closer. "Xiao Jiu is awake. You came just in time. We just made some food here. Come and have a taste." Shangwan Wanrong said and let her taste. Hearing this, Fengjiu hurriedly went forward. "It's nothing. Why would you need a taste test? You're looking for me." Seeing this, Shangwan Wanrong couldn't help but chuckle. She reached out and pinched her cheeks. "Who exactly do you take after this greedy look? If I don't look like my mother, then I definitely look like my father." She smiled and said matter-of-factly, "And I also think it's like your father." Shangwan Wanrong nodded in agreement and picked up a small steamed bun for her to eat. "How is it? How's the taste?" When the small steamed bun entered his mouth, Fengjiu could not help but ask, "Mother, did you really make this steamed bun?" The culinary skills are too good, it's delicious. Really? It's good that you like it. There are a few other dishes that aren't ready yet, but these side dishes are ready. Come and have a taste. She then brought Fingzhou to the side and let her taste the side dishes one by one. Seeing her satisfied expression and hearing her praise, Shengwan Wanrong's heart was very happy and satisfied. She looked forward to the day when the family would be reunited. When that time came, she would definitely go into the kitchen every day and make delicious food for her daughter to make up for what she owed her all these years. When breakfast was served, Shengwan Wanrong asked Leng Hua to call people over to eat breakfast. When everyone arrived one after another, Chen Dao and Luo Heng saw Shengwan Wanrong appear and cried out in alarm as if they had seen a ghost. Chapter 16-17. Shengwan Wanrong looked at the two of them in surprise. She did not really remember who they were, but since they could call her Martial Aunt Shengwan, they should be from the Danyang sect. Fengzhou slapped her forehead. Oh right, I forgot to tell you. She looked at Chen Dao and Luo Heng embarrassedly and said apologetically, I should have told you earlier. This is my mother. What? Luo Heng looked at Fengzhou in shock, then looked at Shengwan Wanrong. He found it hard to believe. Fengzhou was actually Martial Aunt Shengwan's daughter. Heavens, what kind of relationship was this? When Chen Dao heard this, he suddenly understood. So Shengwan Wanrong was Fengzhou's mother. If that was the case, then all these things made sense. Why did Fengzhou sneak into the Danyang sect to become an odd-job disciple, and why did he cause all these trouble in the sect? Most likely, Shengwan Wanrong had something to do with it, and Duan Mubai should know the reason. Otherwise, he would not have asked them to inform Fengzhou to be careful of an assassination attempt after Fengzhou killed his master. He was not clear about the twists and turns in this matter, but he knew that Fengzhou would never kill someone for no reason. The three-young peak master must have done something extremely overboard. Otherwise, it was impossible that even his disciple would not stand on his side. Mother, this is Chen Dao, and this is Luo Heng. You should have seen them before, but you probably forgot about them. Fengzhou introduced them as she walked to Chen Dao and Luo Heng's side and patted their shoulders. I played with them the best in Three-Yong Peak, especially senior brother Chin. He helped me a lot. Other people didn't notice anything else, but Xianyuan Mo saw her walk up to the two of them and put her hands on their shoulders. That intimate gesture and that physical contact made him feel like it was an eyesore. Therefore, he walked forward and came to Fengzhou's side. His low and magnetic voice said seriously, they did not know that you were a girl before, but now that they know, it is not good for them to be too close to you. Didn't you get up and see that their bodies stiffened when you put your hands on their shoulders? As he spoke, he withdrew her hands from their shoulders. At the same time, he pulled her into his embrace and sat down at the table, pulling her away from the two of them. Chen Dao and Luo Heng were staring at Shengwan Wanrong in a daze and did not notice Fengzhou's hands on their shoulders. Also, although they knew that Fengzhou was a girl, because she was wearing a red robe and not a red dress, and because they had interacted with her before, they naturally thought of her as a man. However, they did not feel uncomfortable at all. Therefore, when they suddenly heard Xianyuan Mo's words, the two of them were stunned. Chen Daoxian reacted first and merely smiled, but didn't say anything. Luo Heng, on the other hand, didn't react and instinctively said, "No. We are very comfortable. Don't talk about hooking up, when we were in the peak, we..." Before he could finish speaking, he felt Chen Dao bump into him. He paused and turned around to look at him. What? Chen Dao glanced at him and then looked away, indicating for him to look at Xianyuan Mo's, who was emitting a dangerous aura from head to toe. He was speechless. This boy usually looked quite smart, but why was he so stupid sometimes? Chapter 16-18. Feeling that the atmosphere was not right, and that everyone was staring at him, he knew that he had said something wrong no matter how slow he was. He immediately smiled embarrassedly. Actually, it's not that. It's just that when we were in the peak, Fengjiu often helped us do things, and we all treated him like a brother. Seeing this, Shengguan Wanrong on the side smiled and said, "All right, sit down. Today's breakfast was personally made by me. Have a taste and see how it tastes. Come, you two sit down. Just treat this place as your own home, don't be restrained." "Thank you, Martial Uncle Shengguan," the two said as they sat down. Fengjiu pursed his lips and smiled. Others felt that he was dangerous, but she smelled his jealousy. This man was sometimes really narrow-minded. "Mother, let's take a stroll in Lily after breakfast." She knew that she rarely went shopping. Previously, she was imprisoned in the Shengguan family, and then she was imprisoned in the Danyang sect. Now that she had time, and the poison in her body had been removed, she could accompany her to relax. "All right, then you and Ling Shuang will accompany me for a walk." When we went out to buy groceries this morning, many shops were not open yet, but the market on the street was quite lively. Shengguan Wanrong said with a smile, but when she thought of what happened this morning, she felt a little worried. Their appearances were so outstanding. If there were no guards following them, would they cause any trouble? "All right, then let's eat first." Fengjiu helped her pick up some food, and then picked up a small bun for Xianyuan Mose who was sitting next to him. "Try this, my mother made it. It's very delicious." Seeing this, Xianyuan Mose's expression softened a little, and there was a faint trace of joy in his eyes. However, he still had a taut face with a hint of arrogance, and a cold look on his face. "You eat too." He also picked up some food for her, and then began to eat with his chopsticks. After breakfast, Guan Shilin and the others agreed to go to the martial arts field to practice. Xianyuan Mose returned to his room to practice after Fengjiu and the others left. At the same time, he ordered Hui Lang to protect them in the dark. If it was not necessary, he did not need to show up. On the other side, on the street. "Mother, let's go look for jewelry," Feng Jiu suggested. She saw that Gu Shizhou had nothing on her and was dressed simply and elegantly, so she wanted to buy some jewelry for her. Shengguan Wanrong thought she wanted to buy it, so she agreed. "Okay, a girl should have a few pieces of jewelry, and you, in the future, when you come home, you should wear more skirts, especially after you get married. You can't wear men's clothes as you wish." Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled until his eyes curved, and his voice was light and cheerful as he said, "Mother, don't look at Mose's appearance, he's actually henpecked. In the future, if I say one, he definitely won't say two. If I wear men's clothes, he definitely won't dare to tell me to wear women's skirts for him to see, so you can relax." In the dark, Hui Lang who heard this almost burst out laughing. His master was henpecked. All right, it seemed a bit. Even the ghost doctor knew that he was henpecked. It seemed that in the future, his master would really be eaten alive. There was nothing to be done. Who told master to never take advantage of the ghost doctor from the past until now? Chapter 16-19. The emperor was not worried, but the eunuch was worried. Baw baw baw. He was not a eunuch. "Master, I know of a jewelry shop in the city that has a lot of styles. If you want to buy jewelry, you can go there and take a look." Ling Shuang, who was beside Fengjiu, said. "All right, let's go to the shop you mentioned. Lead the way." Fengjiu gestured. "Yes." Ling Shuang replied and told them where to go. After walking around 2 streets and an alley, they arrived at the front of the jewel house. "This is the place," Ling Shuang said and looked at the magnificent shop in front of him. This shop was very famous in the city. Not only was the jewelry expensive, but it was also said that some of the best styles were unique. Even if you wore it outside, you would not look the same as others. Fengjiu held his mother's hand and walked in together. As soon as they entered, the shop assistant came up to greet them. "Dear guests, please come in." The shop assistant invited them in with a smile. At the same time, he secretly looked at Fingzhou and the other two. There was no other reason other than that the three of them were very good-looking. Even though he was used to seeing all kinds of people in the upper class in the jewel house, it was rare to see people like them. "Where are your best jewelry?" Fingzhou asked. He looked around and saw that there were quite a lot of people. However, this building was divided into 2 floors. It couldn't be that everything was placed on the first floor, right? "Dear guests, please follow me." The shop assistant led the way and brought the 3 of them to the back. They walked up the stairs to the 2nd floor. When they reached the 2nd floor, Fingzhou and the others saw that other than jewelry, the things on the 2nd floor were also magic tools. Furthermore, they were very exquisite magic tools. They could be used for self-defense and also as decoration. However, there were much fewer people here than on the 1st floor. There were only 7 or 8 people on the 2nd floor. "Dear guests, please sit here." The shop assistant arranged seats for them and left them to the staff on the 2nd floor. "What kind of jewelry are you looking for? Hair accessories or something else? I can introduce them to you." The person in front of Fingzhou was a delicate and pretty girl who looked like she was in her 20s. She was wearing the uniform of the 2nd floor of the Treasure Pavilion. What surprised Fingzhou was that the girls who were introduced to the customers on the 2nd floor all had decent cultivation. Furthermore, other than the people in the open, there were also a few pairs of eyes watching from the shadows. That's right, the jewelry on the 2nd floor wasn't just jewelry. Most of them were magic tools and the like. Naturally, the preciousness of the items on the 1st floor couldn't be compared to them. "Let's take a look at each one." As Fingzhou spoke, his gaze swept across the cabinet in front of him. His gaze fell on a complete set of jewelry. He pointed at the set and said, "This, let me have a look." "Okay, please wait a moment." The woman carefully took out the set of jewelry from the cabinet and placed it on the surface of the cabinet that was covered with a layer of black cloth. Only then did she say, "Dear customer, please take a look. This set has just arrived and was made by a refiner." As the woman introduced, Fingzhou held the set of jewelry and compared it to her mother's body. Because it was a set of aqua blue jewelry, it was quite compatible with her gentle temperament. Especially when the hairpin was pinned in her hair, it showed her gentle temperament. Chapter 16:20. Without saying a word, she took the hairpin from Fingzhou's hand and looked at it, asking, "This set of jewelry is quite nice, how much is it?" Fingzhou raised his eyebrows and glanced at the girl. The girl was tall and dressed in gorgeous clothes. She was about 16 or 17 years old and was very beautiful. Her appearance was not bad, but her manners were lacking. Perhaps she felt that someone was staring at her, so she impatiently looked up. However, when her beautiful eyes met Fingzhou's wicked gaze, the other party instantly blushed and quickly lowered her head. Unexpectedly, she placed the hairpin in her hand in front of Fingzhou. "Young master, take a look first." Her voice instantly became gentle, her eyes filled with affection, and her actions were shy. Fingzhou's lips hooked up, and a faint light flashed through his eyes. "Miss also wants to buy jewelry." Shengguan Wanrong saw her daughter flirt with the girl in front of her and couldn't help but secretly shake her head, but her eyes couldn't hide the affection in them. This child was really strange and full of tricks. There were many times when one didn't know what she would do in the next moment. Yes. The girl didn't seem to expect that the red-clothed youth in front of her would talk to her, so she became nervous again. For no reason at all, it was because the man in front of her was so handsome that she couldn't take her eyes off him. That exquisite and beautiful facial features and that charming and wanton smile really had a fatal effect on women. She couldn't find another person like him in the entire city. Therefore, she was sure that this red-clothed youth was definitely from the outer city. If he was from the inner city, it was impossible for her not to recognize him. I think this set of jewelry is more gorgeous and can better set off Mrs. Luxurious aura. Fengjiu pointed to a set of jewelry set with red gems in the cabinet as he spoke. The girl standing in the cabinet heard this and quickly took out the jewelry set, placing it in front of the well-dressed girl. Miss, please take a look. Mrs. Temperament is luxurious. I think this set and this set are both suitable for Mississippi. Fengjiu pointed at 2 more sets, and then picked up a hairpin from one of the sets and placed it in the girl's hair. He then had someone bring a mirror and said, Miss, take a look. When the woman saw the young man in front of her leaning over, she was so nervous that her heart started thumping and her face became even redder. She noticed the white-clothed woman sitting quietly at the side and couldn't help but ask, Who is this? From the looks of it, he was older than her, probably in his 20s. However, that peerlessly beautiful face and gentle temperament were things that even she could not compare to. As for the woman in black standing behind him, she should be a maid. Although her appearance was cold and elegant, one could tell at a glance that she wasn't a noble lady. Oh. This is my mother, Fengjiu introduced generously. Hearing this, the woman was surprised. She quickly revealed a friendly smile and said, Auntie, you're so young. I thought you were siblings. It seemed that she was from a noble family. Otherwise, she wouldn't have maintained herself so well. Help me wrap up this set of jewelry. Fengjiu pointed at the set of aqua blue jewelry. Then, he looked at the woman beside him and asked, Miss, do you like the first 3 sets of jewelry? Hearing this, the woman was delighted, thinking that he was going to buy them for her. She nodded shyly and replied, I like them very much.